Keep your knees between your legs, folks, and don't let your meat loaf. Get ready for a brand new episode of The Peter G. Show.
Hey, Jim.
Hey.
Hey, everybody.
How are you, man?
I'm good. Thank you guys for tuning in for another time with the Jim and Peter Show.
Oh, that's nice you thank me every time I'm here.
We're the guys who like to bitch about everything, because it feels good. It's good therapy.
Is it?
It's things that people can relate to.
Is it?
I believe so.
I'm willing to believe you.
Well,
yes.
I believe that you should believe me. So,
how was your day, your week?
Everything's busy as usual. It's hustle, bustle. I don't know. Deja vu.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Crazy.
Boss. Hey. I'm just thankful for being, as always, I've stopped worrying about a lot of things I don't have anymore.
Sometimes that happens,
yeah.
Because there's nothing you can do about it. So,
but my ride has been good. I mean, I'm just steady, smooth. Not, can we always have more? Sure, but we're okay.
Yeah, well,
okay. You?
Pretty good. I was. This is kind of strange because when we were musicians, a lot of people come after the show. You go backstage and stuff, and if you're lucky, the girls kind of like you and that kind of thing. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff.
I've heard of such tales.
Yes, but we didn't really. You didn't really. Oh, number 2. Oh, she's great. Oh, number 3, right? You just. But now, since we've been doing this, I've had people come up and they know that I'm Jim. They don't know my last name, but they know that. And I think that's kind of cool.
It is cool.
It's
cool. This is why we do it.
Yeah. The reason I brought that up is this lady came up. I was at an Albertsons, and she comes up. And she's rolling, and then she says, "Wait a minute, John," or whatever his son was. He goes, "She comes stomping." I'm like, "Uh-oh, what'd I do in Albertsons?"
You squeezed the Charmin.
I must have, yes. That's probably it. So I'm walking down and she goes, "I know you. You're on that show with that tall guy." I said, "Well, I guess, yeah." He goes, "You're Jim, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And I thought, well, that's cool.
That was cool.
She goes, "I watch your show, I really do, but I have to tell you something." "Why?" And I'm standing there going, "Why?"
Why what?
"Because I need bread." And
why?
She goes, "No, I want to know why Brad and Pitt had a divorce with Angelina. That's just not right."
Okay, so right off the bat, you're dealing with a nut job. 'Cause what the hell do we have to do with divorce with Angelina and Brad or whatever?
I thought she might have been joking, but it was kind of strange. And, I said, well, they had a nice run.
They did.
That was my answer.
They did.
That was about it.
It happens.
Yeah.
That's why we are here.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll get one of them on the show.
I know.
Because we are getting popular.
Well, now since Pitt and Angelina had this divorce, if you read a lot of it, it's getting really nasty.
I've been busy with my own.
No, I wasn't either.
You don't know what to believe.
You should spend more time in Albertson.
Apparently
you
so.
would learn a lot more stuff. But that was so strange. That was the way she walked, and then she just walked away like, okay. I did my thing.
Good.
Yeah.
She.
But yeah, I guess is what's happening is in the wake, Angelina is kind of putting him into child abuse allegations.
Again,
leveled.
you don't know what to believe.
Yeah, that's
how
the
does
thing.
Everything go? Just like
I'm on Brad's side.
That's good.
Yeah,
I might have to console Angelina.
You might have to.
There.
That's true. Usually, in California, if you have a divorce that's longer than 10 years, well, you should have been smarter, right?
They're both super rich. What's the difference?
Well, hey,
it's not like us. Poor schlups.
Once again, I get my stuff at Albertsons. So what can I tell you?
I know.
But, it's really strange because, Tom Cruise cut out with Katie Holmes. Remember that one? And Nicole, both of them.
Oh, yes. I was at the edge of my seat on that one.
Yeah, it was exciting. But, I thought about that again and thinking that how does that qualify? If you've been married with someone for 22 years, but you're young. Let's say you're 19 and you get a divorce. Your kids are great. They've gone to college. Everything's happy. But you still have to pay half of your money forever. if you've gone past 7 months. Can someone make that sense?
It doesn't. And again, that's why we don't get into that too much. We're more about the other end of it. But, yeah, it does suck.
I just thought...
I know, it sucks.
It's just when that lady came at me, at first...
See, that's the problem. They think we do everything, and we barely know what we know.
We don't do anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's why, speaking of...
I have good shopping.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Now that you're speaking about what we can't do, the reason we have today, and I'm very proud of this day today.
That's very cool. Yes.
Yeah, I was talking about therapy, and I've managed, how we bring in people to talk about things, people who actually know what they're talking about to a certain extent, and way more than what we do. And today is a very good day because I'm very proud to say that I got somebody in here that I really like and admire very much. And he's actually
Tom
got
Hanks.
Well, no, I thought you were getting ready to say you. Like, well, no, not you. No. But I don't know. I just think that we're going to do really well with this guy because he's got a lot of experience, and I think he's got his biggest challenge ahead of him that he's ever had, and he doesn't know it yet. So
okay.
Yeah. So you mind if I you need anything else here? Or
no, I'm excited about it
business?
Myself. Yeah.
Okay, so. I want to say that I am very lucky to have sitting in front of us right now, I guess I can call you my friend, can I?
Of course.
Okay. Yeah. I'm very proud to say I got Dr. Lakshman Rasiah, psychiatrist, over 30 years experience. His jokes aren't too bad either. He's a man of many talents. You told me a couple of things, besides being a psychiatrist and things like that there's a few things that really turn you on that you're very passionate about. And it really, I thought about that for a little bit. And we were making a joke. You're very much into your medicine. I mean, you're about what you do. Mind, which we'll talk about. Music, of all things. And I'm going to tell you, the doctor's an opera singer. Yeah, so, and again, you can tell by even when he talks, he's got the voice.
All right.
So, and of all things, he is into sports, Jim. Cricket. Okay?
Cricket?
Yes.
Nice.
Go Broncos.
Excuse me?
Cricket. I don't know. Okay, so Doc, welcome to our show.
Thank you very much.
And thank you.
Thank you for coming.
I got to tell you right now, I'm going to present you with your greatest mentally and physical challenge.
Good Lord. Really?
This is Jim.
Yeah.
Good luck. Now, good luck.
That was kind.
I don't
wasn't
think so. I don't think it will be a challenge.
Really?
Yeah.
Beyond help? So, obviously, again, you've been a psychiatrist for...
Well, I got my first certification in London in 1970, so you can figure out from there.
Yeah. You've been at it for a while.
At a while.
A lot of challenges and a lot of different types of things.
In terms of psychiatry?
Yes.
Yes, the range of psychiatric syndromes, diagnosis, treatment, differential diagnosis, that kind of thing. And then in context, always in context, because no person is an island unto himself. We are born into a family, raised in a family, we are connected with extended family, community, society, culture, and all that. So we've got to consider the person in the context of his own personal life and all these other factors.
Because you realize that we deal with a lot of how, all these people that are going through the issues of divorce that go pretty much crazy. It can ruin you, and you got children that depend on you. You've dealt with those kind of things?
Yes, quite a bit. I'm not a child psychiatrist, but I've dealt with families and adolescent children. And children, of course, are our most precious gift of all, or any kind of gift. And we have a profound responsibility in that respect.
So the people, the adults, like us, that go through all this kind of stuff. You private practice, too. You've had private practice?
I have been in private practice for 30 years here in Ventura, and before that in Vancouver in England. Vancouver, in England, we worked for the National Health Service, but private practice here, yes.
So, treating people, again, like a Jim comes into your door, says, Peter comes into your door and says, I'm just a mess. Now what?
Well, the important thing is not only to find out what his present complaints are, but to allow Jim or Peter to tell his story, really, and then impose, without actually suppressing that spontaneity, a certain framework, psychiatrically and medically, to obtain the kind of information that we want to make a evaluation, a summation, and without pinning labels, a diagnosis. A diagnosis being a description of what's happening at the moment or has happened over time, but not to be fixated on a diagnosis. Sometimes a diagnosis is the critical factor. Sometimes it's a description of history that has occurred over a period of time, perhaps years, and the various factors that have gone into the development of that diagnosis. In summary, the biological, psychological, and social factors, that would be the tripod. And with that framework, then you add various subheadings to each of those headings and determine information that would modify the initial broad understanding of that person's situation.
But I mean, I come to you, I'm a mess, okay? My kids, I'm having trouble with my kids. I mean, where do you start? You're crying, you're drinking or whatever, you're just furious. I was at the point where, you just want to scream. And do you take them, are you seriously straight with these people, or do you try to melt and like be normal with these people? I mean, or are you just a dry, just by the book?
Well, you have to be professional.
Yes.
You're not a friend per se,
Sure.
You're professional. You're trained. There are rules of behavior and understanding, and the elicitation of information is really allowing that person to tell his or her story, so it doesn't sound too clinical. In other medical specialties, you have to get at the facts through a story sometimes, or usually, but it's more within a framework of needed information, diagnostic information. But with psychiatry, it's very important for the person to tell his or her story without appearing to be too clinical, too dry, as you say, too distant, too unempathic, and so on.
How do you get them to open up?
Well, you ask key questions as the person is telling his story. I mean, if you had come to see me, I think you're the kind of fellow who is spontaneous and easy to relate to, not too defended, although maybe you are in certain respects.
Yeah, you might be right.
Let's do it this way. Let's do it like this, okay?
Yeah.
We're going to role play. You're on.
I'm on a what?
Yes. Welcome. I'd like you to see Dr. Rasiah.
Yeah.
Well, what I was thinking about listening to the doctor, and thank you for being here today. My son has, now he's a child, so I don't know if this is the proper way, but the thing that makes me absolutely, I cry often just because seeing that he's going through a lot of anger, and he's 11, and out of nowhere, the anger just explodes, and there's nothing I can do to really stop him. You know what I mean? And it's just we've gone to a few therapy places, and and the first thing they say is, "Do you have your check?"
How do you know you're getting a therapist that's going to nip it in the butt and not just milk it, or is crazier than you? Not you. You're crazy, but I mean, you're sensible.
I mean, I'm not going to be judgmental about therapists.
Sure, but it's true.
I don't.
Come on. Okay.
I can't.
Okay, I know. Okay, I can say this though. I can say this.
Well, as to the quality of therapy,
Yes.
It depends on results, and if the person, the psychiatrist or the psychologist or the therapist, is able to connect with whoever is seeking help, that's the most fundamental of all aspects of therapy. Wouldn't you say? I mean, if you cannot form a relationship with somebody, how can you proceed with therapy?
Can we agree that if we don't get both parents involved, because it's for the sake of your children, where you're losing the fight? I mean, how do you do it on a one-sided battle?
I would agree that is most likely the situation in almost every case. So in this particular situation,
so that's normal to have that.
I'm sorry.
I said that is kind of normal because a lot of times I kind of think, gosh, maybe it's me, and then maybe it's we're problems, and you know what I mean.
But if there are factors in your ex-wife's situation, in her attitude towards this, or in her lack of willingness to cooperate, then perhaps you can talk about this to someone independently and explain those elements and see whether there cannot be a resolution to those impediments in her participation. Independent of your son's or daughter's therapist or yours or the family, somebody completely independent who can then be trusted by your ex-wife to talk about issues that she feels strongly about, evidently, or does. I mean, feels strongly about so many things. That's why she's not participating.
Well, my son always feels that her mom doesn't care about her because, she'll see him on birthdays and stuff like that, but, not to go through the whole thing, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to tell you, these are the kinds of situations, not just us, we get many, many countries. We can't believe it from how we ever made the show. I don't know. It's impossible. But we have.
You're talking about Peter? No?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
yes.
Even so, we've still done pretty good.
Yeah.
But
despite myself.
But what we wanted to try to do is, we know we don't have the brains to take care of all these problems. But if we can at least get together and realize that, well, it's not just me, it's not just you, it's not me. That's why we started making this.
Well, there's nothing more precious than a child's mind. You can have a million Ming vases in your closet, but a child's mind is beyond measurement in any respect. So
that's well said. Yes, I know, and that's why. It's like when I was younger, I thought I was very lucky. I made a lot of money for a while, and then you think, well, I want to go back and do it again now, and I really don't, because the only thing that matters is this, So and Pete has troubles, lots of problems. Really.
I'm sorry, what? Let me ask you something. Do you find yourself having to prescribe medications, or do you feel you try everything you can to resolve the issues with the parent or whoever through just working it out?
Well, when I was seeing adolescents, which as I said, I don't do now, that was not the first thing I did.
For sure.
And medications are critically important, invaluable, but as you just suggested, you try to, first of all, you have to have a grasp of the situation, and then a good understanding, make a connection, especially with the adolescent. For some reason, adolescents connected well with me, reflective of my own unresolved adolescent issues, I'm sure. But once you make that connection, you don't have to rush to make it. Depends on how urgent and serious the situation is. Sometimes you have to, depending on what your diagnostic formulation is. But you should not give the impression, nor should you have the attitude of immediately wanting to whip out the prescription pad and fire off a prescription.
Right.
Well, that's kind of another problem, because if you've had these kind of problems when you're younger, I would assume your kids come out, well, just right away. Let's start pouring.
That's to me the last resort.
Yeah, me too.
The thing is, by the time a patient comes to see a psychiatrist, they've gone through therapists, primary care physicians first, then therapists and others. And so by the time they come to a psychiatrist, it's a fairly serious situation. And so the need for medications at some point seems to be all the greater than if the person had been going to any of these other healthcare providers initially.
I'm starting to see a lot more, this word's coming up a lot more to me, social anxiety.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see a lot of that. You find you crossing this with adults or even with any?
Yeah, social anxiety disorder sometimes, if it's severe, would come to the attention of a psychiatrist, usually resolved through the intervention of a therapist. Sometimes needing psychotropic medications.
They just don't want to deal with people, right?
Preferably of a non-addicting kind, because it's very easy to get dependent on certain kinds of medications.
Sounds terrible to me. Yeah.
But used carefully. Social anxiety disorder can be very limiting.
Is it treatable?
Yes, it's treatable.
Because I've seen people take people away, like they don't want to be around people, and then they just stay away. To me, it's doing more damage than good by, keeping them out of the limelight and not letting them blend with the crowd to deal with it. But good or bad?
Well, you try to encourage participation as much as you can. If it becomes a problem that they don't respond to that, then of course they need other kinds of intervention.
Right. The reason we go through this is because we get so many questions like this. And again, yours is from the clinical, and it may not be. Today I didn't know where we were going to go, and we're going to switch gears here in a second. But I want to touch on this because it's a real problem. It's a gut-wrenching, pull your heart out problem. And then by the time it gets to you, how far off the deep end is everybody? And then it's like taking your car to a couple of different mechanics. They never got the thing right. And then the last mechanic goes, "Oh, sure, now you bring it to me." I mean, right or wrong?
You're wrong.
Good. Just ask a question.
Well, as I said at the beginning, these problems don't arise in isolation, right?
Right.
There are biological factors, inherited factors, but that's not immediately where you go. You've got to consider family, social. That's what we've been talking about all this time. Cultural factors, a variety of situations or issues that may give rise to conflicts, the nature of those conflicts, and so on. So, social anxiety disorder may be just the tip of the iceberg. You shouldn't diagnose that as being the only situation. It may be connected with a number of other situations. It's like depression. You don't consider that to be the only situation. It could be connected with a mood disorder or bipolar disorder or have medical causes and so on. So you've got to go through that checklist of...
Jim, get your checklist out.
Did I say checklist?
Shit list.
My list was
I'm on the shit list. He's got a checklist.
My list was at
get your
Albertsons.
Get your checkout. Oh, there you go. There you go. Okay, I thought you said checklist.
Well,
My apologies. That's even worse.
Doctor, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to help us with that, because we really are struggling. And I'm sure all these people from all these countries, we're all the same, I think, but I wanted to find out I understand you're also a wonderful singer. See, when you tap your heads like that, I'm pretty good.
No, please. No. Actually, the doc is a huge opera fan, right? And loves to perform opera. Am I correct?
So far, so good, yes.
Yeah. You're a tenor?
Yes.
Yes. And believe it or not, the reason it's taken so long to get him on this show is because back when we first started the show, we always wanted to be funny and and goof. And I wanted to put him, and we kept sitting, and I go, I want you on the show, but I got to figure an angle how to get you on and sing and make it funny and entertaining. But there's too much good serious in him that I said, you know what? First you got to come on this show, and whatever's going to aspire is going to come on. But I said there's people that need to hear, maybe we didn't crack as many jokes as I thought we were going to do, but those are coming.
Well, this is a serious subject. Yeah. I mean, if you don't have compassion or empathy or understanding, you always put yourself in the position of the person you're interviewing.
Yeah.
Or is visiting with you. You're no different. I mean, presumably you're healthier and better trained and so on. But you also have to look through the eyes of the person that you're with. If you don't have compassion, then you're in the wrong business.
I knew just recently, because I've talked to him for quite a while, and not too long ago I saw him, and I saw him troubled for one of the very first times. I mean, I could tell something was bugging him. And this is a man that cares about how he treats his patients. And this is, again, why I waited and waited, and I kept telling you I got the one, but we're going to have to wait, because I knew that he's not quick to write and treat. He wants to do it properly because you're dealing with a human being. And that was it. Despite, like I said, he was always, well, I want to sing. I want to sing.
Is this some kind of exposure of me to the world at large?
Yes, I'm going to make you a star singer.
As to what my true passion is?
It is. Your true, well, again, your true passion and cricket. I don't know a whole lot about cricket, but, I've played at a cricket stadium in wherever the hell I was, Trinidad. But
you did?
Yes. Yeah, not played cricket, but performed on a cricket stadium.
You did? You played there?
Yeah. But
music.
Yes. But that was as far as it went, But that was a couple of moons ago. But you singing opera, do you get? So how active are you in the operatic community? Are you? Or is it...
Well, I do it for fun as an avocation. It's I'm not in the professional field, but I hope I'm considered to be sufficiently professional to be able to sing the kinds of songs that you hear.
Any rock opera by chance? I thought about this.
Rock opera.
Well, Queen did it.
I'm just trying to think. No, I think the closest I can think is, Rigoletto with those two songs, La Donna e Mobile, which everybody knows, and
Sure. I was just singing that on my way in today.
And Questa Quella,
Yeah.
So, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a real good one.
Yeah. I was, that's on my playlist.
You're a very intelligent person. You can see we're idiots.
Yeah, we're just bunch
so,
one or just both of you?
We both cop to that.
Oh yeah, both of us.
Yeah. I in time, I'm hoping that I can have you back, or at least do a few phones and you touch base with us from time to time. Because the problem here is that this is your first time seeing us, and we're very thankful. But there's so much more to you and to where we're going with this. And I'm hoping that we can get you to come back, and maybe we'll figure out a way how to explore your passion as well as your
Could we
profession.
talk cars too and discounts?
I don't know. It depends. We'll have to check on that.
Sorry, I had to get that in.
Yes. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah.
But either way, I'm glad we finally got to do this. People.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Again, the ones that are going to be listening to this is the ones that are we touched on those subjects, and again, it's a broad base. But there's so many different avenues to go. Where do you start? But I personally feel like it's the damage between our divorces was right from the adults, and then everything else trickled down. And I blame myself for a few things that I maybe shouldn't do and should do, but it happens all the time. And you being with the adults, and then what happens to your kids? So, and here we are. Ta-da!
Well, as Socrates said, know thyself, right? I mean, this has gone on for thousands of years of analysis and understanding. So
yeah. Anything you want to leave us with today? Have you had time to ponder any like super thought of if you can say anything to us right now?
Really?
And keep it clean.
Really? No. Actually, what I just said, I mean, if you don't understand your own suffering, after all, the great teachers have said, know your own suffering, right? Pain and suffering. Out of that comes compassion, right?
Well, that's the problem. Half the time we don't hear ourselves crying.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's self-understanding is where you start.
Today I give you wisdom, Jim.
I was at Albertsons.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he shops at Albertsons.
Yeah.
So what we learned from today is he shops at Albertsons. Sorry.
No,
I never said this was going to be great.
Yeah. No.
All right.
No, thank you so much.
I think you're very forthcoming and open, and that's the first step really towards the resolution. To be accessible to yourself and to whoever is trying to help you.
I'm willing to open all the boxes there are, but the problem is there's nothing in there that I can use to help him with. So as we go
But don't
along,
give up. That's the important thing.
That's a big deal.
Sir.
Quitter.
Shit.
Okay, I think we need to wrap it up today because today's another day.
Yeah,
Go think about that one. There's another philosophical words of wisdom out of my mouth, and I just regretted that.
I apologize for that.
We thank you. The great Dr. Lakshman Rasiah, I thank you, sir.
Drop the great part. I might start believing it.
You know what? The next time we
I
get
think
you in,
you are. I think you
I
are.
didn't get to cover half the stuff I had written down that we wanted to, but again, it's deep subjects, and you just can't give it a 2-word answer.
I learn most from my colleagues around here. You listen to them and you learn.
Well, maybe somebody will listen to you and learn, and that's why you're here, and I thank you very, very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Again, people, thank you so much for putting up with us. I hope you get something out of this man because
this was worth the day.
It's
Absolutely.
experience, and we said it. We are definitely not this man, but experience counts for something. We definitely learn things as we make our mistakes, but we never give up, and I think that's the whole thing because we're not very good quitters. And that's it. Anything else, Jim?
If you have your kids, you can.
Yeah. It's all about the kids, people. The kids. That's why we're here. I'm Peter G. This is my friend Jimmy. You just got to hear Dr. Lakshman Rasiah today answering a few questions and getting really deep on this stuff, but well worth it. We love you guys. Thank you for watching and listening to the Jim and Peter Show. And share.
Thank you so much, Doc. Really.
Welcome. Thank you.
Peace out. We love you guys.
Take care.
Peter G. Show.